Hey there. It's been a while since we've seen each other, but here I am, and here it is. The new 2023 Husqvarna Motocross model. After quite a long break caused by various complications here, we finally have another presentation, another joint test with journalists from our Central and Eastern Europe region this time around. We're in beautiful Trenčín at Motor Park, where we had the chance to test almost the entire range of Husqvarna motocross bikes. There are a lot of changes because both the 2-strokes and the 4-strokes are, you could say, completely new motorcycles. But let's start with what immediately catches the eye, the new look. You can love it or hate it. I won't give a definitive opinion. I don't know why I agreed to that yellow rear fender, but since I did, here it is. Aside from these colors, which are quite controversial, the rest is really great, especially the whole bodywork, yes, meaning the overall ergonomics. The ergonomics are similar to previous models, but the shape of the plastics has changed a bit, which gives us this nice little grip here. The plastics are very slim. Apparently factory riders and teams worked on them, so we'll trust that this was definitely the case. And you can really get that impression because when you stick your legs out in corners or hold on to the bike, your knees, thighs and calves always find a place for themselves. Of course, we also have a new seat. This time it's mounted from the front. We didn't ride in the mud, so I don't know how this will affect the speed of removing it, but we believe it's a positive change. So that's probably it when it comes to the general appearance of this motorcycle. The most important changes, of course, affected both the engine and the frame. Let's start with the frame because we'll discuss the engines separately for the 2-stroke and 4-stroke versions. So a new frame, but what does that mean? The geometry remains the same, only certain elements have been changed. A lot of focus was placed on the steering head. Here the seals have been improved and it has been reinforced in those critical areas. In fact, if you get a chance to look at photos or see the motorcycle in person, since it will probably arrive at dealerships soon, you'll notice this. You can really see that a lot of material has been added here. The mounting of the rear shock absorber has also been changed, so it no longer transfers as much force directly to the steering head. Thanks to this, the motorcycle is supposed to handle much better. The frame has also been reinforced. This refers to its lateral rigidity. It's much stiffer here, especially in the longitudinal direction. And interestingly, all the 4-strokes use the same frame. The engine mounts are the same as well. This definitely allowed them to cut costs a bit. Will this be reflected in the final price? Well, I doubt it because it definitely won't be cheap, but I think that even now, before we get into the details, it's definitely worth it. There are also changes to the front suspension. A new hydro stop has been added, there's a new setting, and the rear shock absorber is completely new as well. Even though it's shorter, the travel has been increased, so it has a very positive effect on performance. And interestingly, all the adjustments now, well, here they've covered everything with plastic, so you can't see it, but you can do everything by hand now. No tools are needed, and as you know, it's always easiest to do it by hand. No one can do it as well as we can ourselves, so there won't be any problem with that. So as I said, the front fork is new, the rear shock absorber is new. Oh, and there's also a change in the preload. Now we can remove it without disassembling the shock absorber or taking off the spring, which I think will make working on it much easier for us. And that's all when it comes to the bodywork. Of course, the brakes are still top-notch because they're from Brembo, and the clutch is also from Brembo, so that's awesome too. The wheels didn't get bent today during the test, even though there were a lot of hard landings, so I think they're great as well. So now it's time to talk about the crème de la crème, which is the engines. The new 4-stroke, as you can probably already tell, this engine has been rearranged a bit. And most importantly, the 4-strokes have received a quick shifter. This hasn't been seen in motocross before, so it's truly a complete novelty. From 2nd to 5th gear, as long as it's properly programmed. Remember to check this when picking up your new motorcycles. We can shift without letting off the throttle, that is. Without letting off the throttle or using the clutch, we just load the gears, and the computer itself cuts the ignition for a split second, so the gears slip in like butter. Of course, when shifting down, we use the clutch. A nice change. I couldn't quite get used to it myself because the tracks were very bumpy, and when I tried to do it, it usually ended up with some whiskey throttle moments, but it definitely works. I think they'll refine it even more in the coming years, and then it'll be absolutely amazing. So this quick shifter works really, really well. All the engines have been slightly redesigned to make them easier to fit into the frame. They are a bit, so to speak, elongated upwards and rotated towards the frame. In other words, you could say they've been straightened by 2 degrees upwards. That's probably the biggest change in the 4-stroke engine. Thanks to this, it's more compatible. It'll also be easier for us, for example, if you wanted to do a swap, right? Now you can easily take out the 450, put in the 250, and you have a ready engine for the next competition. 2 ignition maps, of course, controlled from here with your thumb. We can also turn on traction control. Of course, there's an electric starter. All 4-strokes have the same radiators, which I also think is a really great feature. The 2-strokes have also received the same radiators as the 4-strokes. This also makes it easier for us because if in the coming years we need a used one, well, obviously the resale market for these increases. Oh, and one very important thing, just quickly going back to the frame for a moment. Foot pegs, bigger, longer, and more curved just the way we like them. Thanks to this, your knees practically grip the motorcycle on their own, which I experienced more than once today because after such a break from motocross, my arms would get tired quickly. And you constantly had to squeeze the bike with your knees, so that's really, really nice. I just didn't feel like going to get the 4-stroke, I mean the 2-stroke, so we'll talk about our changes on the 4-stroke as an example, which also apply to the 2-strokes. Because interestingly, we now have a completely new engine. There's a new balancing shaft added and electronic exhaust valve. Really a lot of changes. The little bike got an electric starter, so that's just awesome. There's not even space for a Kickstarter, so forget about it. We're finally entering the 21st century and now everything is just as it should be. When it comes to the actual riding experience with 2-strokes, I have to say it's very, very strange because now this motorcycle delivers power in an incredibly linear way. There's no longer that 2-stroke hit that we know so well and honestly love. So some people will be disappointed that this bike now rides so smoothly, but we just have to get used to it. That's the direction the world is heading, so that's how it's going to be from now on. I think that because of this, 2-strokes will be even more capable of competing with 4-strokes. We all agreed here that while TPI seemed like it was a 3-stroke, well, it really isn't. This new fuel injection, combined with the new electronically controlled power valve, has made it a true 3-stroke. The power delivery is very similar to a 4-stroke, so honestly it's best if you try it out for yourselves because everyone will have a different impression. Riding the Zeta was absolutely fantastic, to put it mildly. On the aggressive map it went at least like a 150. You didn't have to play with the clutch or gears much, so it was a blast. As for the 1/4 liter, that was also a really nice bike, especially when you had the strength for it. Then you could really have fun with it. You really didn't feel that classic 2-stroke power delivery that we remember from carburetors or even from the TPIK. Now everything is super smooth. At one point I started wondering whether, despite the long break, the experience I've gained on other motorcycles is actually making me ride better and better. Is it really that these motorcycles are so much better that I'm starting to feel like a good rider and sometimes I manage to pull off a nice jump or even slightly whip the bike in the air? I think it's really thanks to the bikes, not the rider, because after a year-long break from motocross, coming to this track with such crazy jumps, well, what else could you expect? And yet these bikes really do help, so I think everyone, especially the riders, will appreciate these changes because they'll feel everything very precisely. If you're wondering whether it's worth switching to the new models, I think there's really nothing to think about. Start looking for buyers for your kidneys. Apparently you can even pawn them now and for quite a bit of money, but they are definitely worth it. You can get a scarf like this from your dealers. So that's about it for now. Of course, you'll find more information in Husqvarna Motocross on the website, in the magazine, and on our YouTube channel, where you'll find onboard videos and various other materials. Drop by our Facebook page. This was me, Elias Schwitzen, speaking. Cheers, 600!